Before we start the podcast, I just want to talk to you guys about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and let me explain why. First of all, it's free, so you can get it anywhere, anytime, costs no money. Second of all, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, whatever device you choose. As well as that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast too with no minimum listenership. That means a nobody podcast like mine can make money off of sponsorships. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So if you haven't tried Anchor or you want to start a podcast and haven't tried it yet, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM to get started.
You're listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast, hosted by Dylan Dillo Smith, Midwestern Ontario one and only MMA podcast, where we interview MMA fighters and voice actors like Sergeant Frank Woods.
What is up, everybody? It is Dillo, and welcome to another episode of the Dillo's Dojo podcast. This is episode 32, and I just wanted to start things off with, how's everybody doing? Like, how's everybody's work week? You know, it's Sunday. I mean, by the time you guys are listening to this, it'll be Monday. So I hope everybody's work week goes good. I hope everybody's last week was great. I hope everyone's weekend was awesome. Today is Sunday at the time of recording this. So that means that Floyd Mayweather is squaring up against Logan Paul. We'll talk about that in a bit, but I just wanted to kind of lay something out here. First of all, I wanted to thank Smooth My Balls. They're kind of like a Manscaped type thing. They do men's razors and stuff. Pretty solid products. They are officially sponsoring the podcast. I have my own code and everything, so you'll hear about that later in the podcast. But I'm going to be moving, as I stated last podcast, and I'm going to be having way better internet, so things are going to be changing for the podcast, hopefully. I'll be uploading them to YouTube now a lot more, like every single episode I'll be uploading to YouTube. I'll be streaming, probably, because I'm going to have the internet for it. Just going to be doing a lot of things with this internet. I won't really be bitching and complaining about getting the episodes up anymore because I'll have no issue with getting the episodes up anymore. But anyway, I'm going to be moving, so internet's going to be way better. Expect a lot more things from me and from the podcast, I guess, and another podcast coming soon as well. I'll talk about that in the future, not today, but I'll talk about that in the future. Anyway, let's talk about Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul. I don't understand how this came about, but it seems that Floyd just needed another payday because this is a work. This is going to be easy for Floyd, without a doubt. This is going to be the easiest thing that Floyd has ever had to do. I'm going to say this now because I've been seeing this a lot. I don't know, I mean, maybe people on MMA Twitter haven't been seeing it because, you know, you guys actually know the fight game, so you're not fucking dumb, but I've been seeing a lot all over Twitter, a lot of people, whether it's jokes or not, saying that Logan Paul is going to dust Floyd Mayweather because he's taller and he's heavier, and see, you could have, like, he has a chance. He's not that good of a technical boxer. He got beat by a fucking YouTuber. He drew the YouTuber the first time and then got beat by him the second time. He's 0-1, and he's going up against a boxer who is 50-0, who's gone against some of the best boxers in the world and come out on top, who went up against Conor fucking McGregor and came out on top, went against Japan's best kickboxer, came out on top. Like, you really think that some fucking YouTuber that's only been training boxing since 2018 could beat Floyd Mayweather, who has been doing boxing for, God, 25 years, 26 years, maybe longer. Like, he's been doing boxing for half of his goddamn life. And you really think that Logan Paul is going to beat him. That is the dumbest thing that I have heard anyone fucking say, or the dumbest thing that I have read on Twitter. And I've read some pretty stupid fucking things on Twitter. You know, I'm not going to fucking deny that. I've read some really dumb things on Twitter. So, anyway, this happened. But whether you think Logan Paul is going to win or not, I feel like it's going to be a big payday for both guys regardless, because they're going to get pay-per-view points, pay-per-view sales. Obviously, Floyd's getting paid big money to even show and win because he's a big fucking boxing star. And Logan Paul probably didn't fucking get no, petty chump change to show at all either. Like, he's a pretty big profile YouTuber. He could he can negotiate himself some pretty big fucking prices. So everybody's just here for the payday. And I mean, if I needed to give my prediction, Floyd's gonna toy with him, get him tired, and I don't know, finish him in the 8th round or something like that. It's gonna be some sad shit. That's all I'm gonna say. It's gonna be some fucking sad shit. Like, yeah, Logan Paul's probably going to get some good shots on Floyd, but you're going up against Floyd Mayweather, who's been doing this in his entire life. He's been born and bred into boxing. He's faced some very retarded and horrific situations, and Logan Paul is going to be nothing for Floyd Mayweather. So, yeah, for the people who think that Logan Paul actually has a chance, you're out of your goddamn mind. And I love it, but the only reason I could see Logan Paul winning is some puncher's chance, and it would erupt the internet in chaos, and I just can't see that happening. Like, there's just no way it's happening. Anyway, that's not the only fight on the card. As you guys know, boxing cards have at least 2 or 3 other fights on the card besides the main event. In the co-main event, we have Jack going up against someone who they finally got to fight him on short notice, Dervin Colina. I'm going to tell you the Vegas odds right now, and it's pretty surprising. If you think that Dervin Colina is going to upset, you'll get your money's worth. Okay, so Jack is minus 2,500. Sorry, I almost said 2,500. My fucking idiot brain. Yeah, he's minus 2,500, and Dervin Colina is plus 1,200. It's the biggest fucking odds on the card, but it's still pretty silly considering, like, this guy had, like, up until probably a couple days ago, maybe yesterday, he has not had an opponent. Every time you check the fight card, it was always TBA. The next fight on the card is Jarrett Hurd versus Luis Arias, and that's at middleweight. So, obviously, the Jack fight's at light heavyweight. Jarrett Hurd is at middleweight, and those odds are minus 900 and plus 600 for Luis Arias. Jarrett Hurd's got the fucking favorite on that one by a long shot as well. I guess it is boxing. I don't watch a lot of boxing to be used to these types of odds being on the main card, but I don't know. If you vote, like, if you bet on Luis Arias, you're going to get your money's worth if he upsets. And then to open up the card, we have a weird fucking fight. So, the wide receiver, Chad Johnson, also known as Ocho Cinco, is fighting some guy named Brian Maxwell. I don't know a fucking thing about this Brian Maxwell guy. And a contracted exhibition. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever, because this man is a wide receiver, and he's fighting in boxing now, and he's about to make his fucking debut. I'm intrigued. I want to see how good he is, because usually, like, yes, he's a wide receiver, and, he doesn't have the best boxing skills, but it's not all about the boxing skills. It's about the mind and the athleticism and the skills. So if he's been training that athleticism as much as he has when he was doing football, and he's got some good game plan going out, and maybe he's got a mind for boxing, I'm interested to see where this goes. But it's an interesting thing all around. I'm sorry, I can't say that without a straight face. It's just so fucking goofy. This whole main card is goofy. Am I gonna watch it? No, I'm probably not gonna watch it. I gotta work tomorrow, and it's at like 8 p.m. tonight. That's the main card starting. They're probably gonna be walking out around 10 p.m. I gotta work early in the morning, so fuck that. But yeah, that's happening. So if you wanted to, if you want to watch that, or by the time you guys have, you're listening to this, you've wanted to watch that. There you go. That's happening. So by the time you guys are listening to this, go check out the highlights if it's already happened. I'm assuming Floyd Mayweather won. So yeah, I told you so. But yeah, I don't know why this is happening, but this isn't the only weird boxing news that we got this week. I mean, this has been going on for a while, but it was like a short notice type thing. I completely forgot that it was this week. I'm going to be completely honest with everyone who's listening. I didn't know it was this week until I was down where I'm moving, signing the lease, and my brother just texted me saying like, "Yo, Mayweather and Paul this weekend." And I was like, "Wait, what? That's this weekend?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Holy fuck, I forgot." Like, I completely forgot that it was this weekend. But anyway, it's not the only weird boxing news. So this week we got first of all, two things of boxing news. First of all, Jake Paul got signed to Showtime. He's got a contract with Showtime Boxing now, so he's officially becoming a professional boxer, which is weird to me. I never thought Jake Paul, the most annoying YouTuber in the fucking world, would have become a pro boxer, but anyway, he has. So if that wasn't enough that he got signed to Showtime, on top of that, he just booked the fight with Tyron Woodley, another pro MMA fighter, obviously former UFC champion. He knocked out Robbie Lawler. Tyron's known for his wrestling, but he also is known for having a blasting right hand. So, if he just works on his boxing a bit more, this is going to be a bad night for Jake. I think Jake finally talked himself into a fight he's gonna fucking struggle through. Whether he can win or not, I don't know. Tyron Woodley's not a boxer. He's a wrestler. He has the basic fundamentals for boxing, and he has a great right hand that'll fucking knock anyone out. But he's not a boxer compared to Jake, who's been doing this on constantly his entire fucking, like, as if it was his entire life for at least, I don't know, 3-4 years now. He's been training it like that. So he's been taking it seriously for that long. He's now showing that he's no fucking slouch, which I hate to say it, but he's shown that he's got a fucking powerful hook and he's got some skill. So, I don't know how that's going to go, but I do know that it's not going to be an easy walk in the park. Woodley's not chinny, and he's not coming off of a fucking hip surgery. He's got that right hand. He actually has the decent basic fundamentals for boxing. So I don't think that Jake's going to have an easy fight on his hands when that fight comes. And on top of that, it was announced recently, like a couple days ago, I want to say Friday or Thursday, Tyron got a call. Well, actually, I don't know if Tyron reached out to Floyd or Floyd reached out to him, but Tyron is going to be training with Floyd Mayweather during the whole camp leading up to the fight against Jake Paul. So that might be dangerous with Tyron's right hand and basic understanding of boxing because of his MMA. And now he's training with Floyd Mayweather, so he gets the knowledge of the sweet science from someone who's like considered the best boxer in the world. Yeah, no, I don't think this is going to be an easy fight for Jake at all. With that in the books, like with that in the question, I don't think that Jake might win. I don't know if it's going to be a knockout in the late rounds or if it's going to be a decision, but I have a feeling that Tyron actually might win this if Floyd trains him to be more aggressive, let his hands go, and just teaches him the basic fucking, like, the better fundamentals of the sweet science, I guess. But it's exciting to see how that's happening. I don't know how Jake talked himself into it, but Tyron really wants to avenge fucking Ben Askren's loss. Let him. I think he was the better fucking representative of the MMA community anyway. Like I said, he's around Jake Paul's size, has that knocking right hand. If Floyd, teaches him how to let his hands go, to use that right hand better, it's going to be a bad night for fucking Jake, man. It's going to be a very bad night for Jake. But anyway, that's happening. And then I don't know who the opponent is yet, but Vitor Belfort, the former UFC light heavyweight champion and the man who was known as TRT fucking Vitor, and the guy who knocked Bisping's eye out. he signed a pro boxing contract. He's going to be making another run at boxing. He's had one pro boxing fight before in 2006, so he's 1-0 in boxing. He won that fight. I don't remember what by, but he's making another run at boxing, I guess. Nobody would sign him to any MMA organizations. I mean, whatever. But from what we've been seeing, it's almost like TRT Vitor is back. And you know what? Fuck it. I'm here for it. I'm all for it. I love it. I can't wait to see who he murders. No, I'm kidding. But I can't wait to see who he fights. I can't wait to see how he does. I can't wait to see if it's truly TRT Vitor back in, just in the prime. We don't know, but anyway, I'm excited for that as well. But yeah, we've had nothing but weird boxing news this week. It was really interesting. And on top of that, it was fight week. This week we actually had a couple of fights happen. A couple of events have happened, like before the UFC event, obviously. I'll talk about the main events of those. BFL 67, I believe, happened, and another couple of events happened. So, it was a great week for fights. We had those announcements, plus we had those fights at the end of the week, and then Saturday's fights, of course, we're going to get into those. But anyway, let's get into the main event of BFL 67 real quick. All right, so BFL 67 happened on Friday, I believe, in Vancouver, and it was pretty stacked for their, obviously their card. Battlefield Fight League is BFL, obviously. It's a Canadian promotion. I wanted to cover them because I'm actually becoming quite a fan of them. They've got some pretty decent fighters there, and their promotion's pretty sweet, kind of similar to how, their whole layout is pretty similar to the UFC. I enjoy it very much. Plus, I gotta support a Canadian promotion. I always gotta. But anyway, so their main event was Kyle Machado versus Chris Larson for the heavyweight championship. I believe Chris Larson is their light heavyweight champion, and he was coming up to challenge Kyle Machado for the heavyweight championship. That fight didn't last too long, as Kyle Machado completely dominated the fight and just destroyed Larson with punches. And then the co-main event was a welterweight championship, which was pretty nice. The welterweight champion, I believe, Dejan Kajic versus Tyron Camion, and that didn't last long either. That was a one-round affair that ended in punches as well. I do recommend going to watch this on Fight Pass. This was a pretty decent card. I enjoyed the entire card. Go watch it on Fight Pass if you're looking for something to watch and pass the time. If you've got time off, if you're in quarantine still, if anybody's still doing that shit, you can watch it on Fight Pass. It's already there. As well as Eternal MMA 60 happened this weekend, but I actually didn't end up catching it because it was in Australia and it happened very early, so I missed it, which was really unfortunate. But I might actually sit down and watch it sometime today or, tomorrow night when I get home. But anyway, BFL 67 happened. It was awesome. Go watch it. Let's get into the fights, because I know that's what you guys have been waiting for. And then after that, we'll talk about UFC 263, because honestly, the card is stacked from main card to prelims, folks. Before we continue on to the fights, I just want to thank Smooth My Balls for sponsoring this episode. Ladies, fellas, let's be real. It's uncomfy to have a jungle down there, and be honest with yourself. Your significant other may not like it either. You don't have to worry about that anymore with Smooth My Balls Turf Chopper 3.0. This little bad boy has a diamond groove grip to make it easier to grip in the shower, as well as a long-lasting battery that is waterproof, so it can be used in the shower as well. Also, if you're worried about cutting yourself up down there, well, then the Turf Chopper has you covered with its alloy polished blade that has a micro-sized teeth That makes it practically impossible to nick yourself down there. Also, cleanup is easy too with their Pube Muncher 1.0, a little hair vacuum like thing that makes cleaning up your pubes as easy as clapping. So, if you want to stay clean down there, you can visit www.smoothmyballs.com/Dillo, that's Dillo, for 15% off of your order, or enter code Dillo, Dillo, at checkout for 15% off. Once again, thank you to Smooth My Balls for sponsoring this episode. Alright, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. This card did not look like anything special on paper. No offense to the heavyweights, the fighters on the card, but on paper, when you look at the card, prelims, main card, everything, it didn't really look like that special of a fight night. But boy, did it deliver, and we had one controversy, but boy, did the main card deliver. We had in the main event Jairzinho Rosenstruck against Augusto Sakai, so two knockout artists at heavyweight, two dudes who just love to throw bombs. And then in the co-main event, same thing. We had a Polish man who just loves to throw bombs, as well as Walt Harris, the man who's, very known as the big ticket and unfortunately known as Anaya Blanchard's father, if everybody knows about that happened last year. But anyway, he had a good start, and they were both throwing bombs, so I'll talk about that in a bit. And the main card also involved Santiago Ponzinibbio, he's one of my favorite fighters, always brings it when he fights. But anyway, let's get into the fights. We'll talk about the prelims first. We won't get too much into the prelim fights. We'll just tell you the results, the prelims, because, I didn't want to spend too much. The only one I'll probably spend any time on is the Mason Jones fight, and I'll tell you guys why. But anyway, let's get into it. So, the first fight on the card was a lightweight bout between Claudio Puelles versus Jordan Leavitt, and honestly, it was a close fight, but Claudio Puelles just edged it out and kind of just started getting his stride later on in the fight. Ended up edging out the fight 29-28 on all judges scorecards. And then at featherweight, we had Sean Woodson versus Yusuf Zalal. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I zoned out during this fight. I was off doing something else, but when I came back, I guess it was an extremely close fight. Both guys kind of fought to a decision. It was a split decision, 28-29 on one judge's scorecards, and then 29-28 for Sean Woodson. Jesus Christ, that's a tongue twister for me. I don't know why. Anyway, Sean Woodson won via split decision, 29-28, and then the rest. And then there was a women's flyweight bout between Manon Fiorot. This was originally supposed to be between Marina Moroz, but she pulled out due to undisclosed reasons. It wasn't stated that there was an injury, no COVID, no medical reasons, just kind of undisclosed why she pulled out and just pulled out of the fight. But Tabitha Ricci came in and, just came in clutch on short notice. And Manon Fiorot won by TKO in the second round, exactly 3 minutes into the second round. So now we're going into the Mason Jones fight. Alright, so there was a little bit of controversy with this fight. So it was a lightweight bout between Alan Patrick and Mason Jones. Mason Jones being, I believe, the Cage Warriors lightweight and welterweight champion. He was coming in. I think he had a successful debut, and this was his second fight in the UFC. Honestly, man, throughout the entire fight, he was just beating the hell out of Alan Patrick, and he got him with a decent eye poke in the first that kind of got him, but he adjusted, he apologized and everything, just kept beating the shit out of him. It was the second round. He just continued to jab away and just beat the living shit out of him. And I guess, I don't know, a lot of people were complaining that it didn't look like an eye poke, it just looked like a jab that kind of looked like an eye poke, and that Alan Patrick just wanted to fucking clock out. But I don't know, man, if that's the case, it should be a TKO, but Alan Patrick ended up complaining that he couldn't see, and the ref called it off and called it a no contest because it was like they deemed it accidental, which is good on Mason Jones's part. At least it wasn't a fucking dumbass DQ. But a lot of people on Twitter last night were pretty upset that Alan Patrick apparently clocked out and did the Aljo method. If you guys remember a little bit back when Aljo faced Peter Yan, I think round 3 or 4 in their 5-round title bout, Peter Yan was beating the fucking shit out of him and had him on the ground, and he was standing, like Peter Yan was standing, but Aljo was downed, and the ref even stated that he was down, but Peter Yan threw a knee anyway, sorry, and when the knee landed, the knee landed pretty flush, but it didn't seem hard enough to like knock him out, but he started writhing around on the floor, holding his face, and then when he got up, like when he was getting up to his stool and shit, he was acting all wobbly and stuff, and then after the fight, he was at parties, like, fucking partying it out and everything. But anyway, I told you we had some controversies. That was the first controversy, that Alan Patrick clocked out and caused the fight to be a no contest. I believe both guys are at fault, because if it truly was an eye poke, it's kind of hard when you're getting a little bit tired and your hands are kind of loosely, just kind of hanging out there, and you're just throwing little loose jabs. You got to get into the habit of keeping your fingers, like, not outstretched or anything. But, Mason Jones shouldn't have poked him in the eye, and Alan Patrick, if he really wasn't that hurt, like, come on, man. Like, you could have fought that out. Or you could have asked your fucking corner to throw in the towel, dude. Like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, that wasn't the only controversy of the night. I'll get into that in a bit. The next fight of the night was a featherweight bout between Kamuela Kirk and Mr. Finland, Makwan Amirkhani. And apparently, I didn't watch this one. I was playing games. And apparently, Kamuela Kirk actually won against Makwan Amirkhani, despite a lot of people believing that Makwan won round 1. One judge scored it 30-27 for Kirk, so, 3-0. Anyway, it was a unanimous decision, 30-27, 29-28, 29-28 across all boards. So there's that. And then the next fight after that was the welterweight bout between Muslim Salikov and Francisco Trinaldo. That was just a complete domination for Muslim all around. Ended up winning that fight 30-27 on all scorecards. And then the other controversial fight of the night was the prelim headliner, which was Ilir Latifi up against Tanner Boser, fellow Canadian. It was an extremely close fight where it was just a lot of takedown attempts and I guess some successful takedowns from Ilir Latifi. A lot of strikes from Tanner Boser that, landed, but didn't do a lot of damage, just kind of landed. But enough to be considered a significant strike, I guess. But he outlanded Ilir Latifi in all 3 rounds and kind of defended the takedowns enough and was a little bit more active. Yet, Ilir Latifi won the fight 29-28, 29-28 on all scorecards. It was a split. One judge had it 29-27 for Tanner Boser. The weird thing is, all judges scored the first round for Ilir Latifi, apparently, even though Tanner Boser outstruck Ilir Latifi 8 strikes to 1. But hey, man, I've complained about the judges before on this podcast. I guess I'll continue complaining about them. It's just, god damn it, man. Like, you got one job, you judge the fucking fight based on strikes or damage strikes, and then grappling, submissions, and then octagon control or whatever. Effectively, those 3 or 4 fucking qualifications. I don't know how you would judge the fight like that and have Ilir Latifi win, but whatever. A lot of people were pretty upset about that as well. Some, journalists were pretty upset about it. I saw Aaron Bronister pretty upset that they scored round 1 for Ilir Latifi, and I can understand why. He outstruck Ilir Latifi 8-1, and Ilir Latifi wasn't really that successful in round 1 with his ground game or anything. He just, again, got outstruck. But whatever. Like, the judges will judge. The judges will do what they always fucking do, man. Until somebody holds them truly accountable or fires them, they're just gonna keep doing stupid shit without any true consequences. But anyway, that was the prelims. The prelims were pretty decent, had some controversial endings, and that made for some drama, and I loved it. So anyway, we're gonna get into the main card now, because, like I said, this didn't look good on paper. And the Tom Breeze fight unfortunately fell through, so we had Montana De La Rosa open it up. But anyway, the fights on paper didn't look too good. But I'll tell you, only one fight out of these 6 on the main card was boring. And that was the 4th fight of the night. But anyway, let's get into this. To start off the main card, we had a women's flyweight bout between Montana De La Rosa, the one of the two Montana De La Rosa, the one of two De La Rosa couple, and then she was going up against Ariane Lipski, Queen of Violence. This fight was actually really exciting because it started off, Ariane Lipski was doing pretty good on the feet, but I have to say, for a person who's mainly a grappler, she was doing very well going toe-to-toe with Ariane Lipski. Like, she got hit by some heavy shots, ate them like they were nothing, and just countered with her own. It was pretty impressive, honestly. Ariane Lipski was doing great, but as soon as the fight would get to the ground, it was game over. The first takedown, Ariane Lipski got taken down and then got back up, and then she got taken down again. And then for the rest of the first round, it was just all Montana De La Rosa on the ground. Not really too much action other than her throwing a couple strikes. There was, I believe, an elbow or a punch that actually split open the eyebrow of Ariane Lipski and just started causing blood to pour into her eye. So that was pretty cool. And probably confidence boosting for Montana De La Rosa. Jesus Christ, I'm talking way too fast. Maybe I need to slow down. Let's slow down. So anyway, the first round ended with Montana De La Rosa on top, and it seemed to be, in my opinion, and I'm sure in all the judges' opinions, a 10-9 round for Montana De La Rosa. So the second round starts, and you can hear Ariane Lipski's corner saying, like, we don't want to wrestle with her. You need to come out and be more aggressive, push her button, right? So she does exactly that. Round 2 starts. They come out both going towards the center. Ariane Lipski hits her with a nice 1-2 combo. It's like a left hook, right hook combo that hurts. That looked like it hurt Montana De La Rosa, and then had her wobbling and tried to counter as Montana De La Rosa comes in, eats an uppercut and eats it, literally eats it. Doesn't get hurt by it. Eats it straight on the button, but lands the takedown anyway. And as soon as that happened, it was game over. It was up against the fence, and Montana De La Rosa was just on top the entire time. It started off in side control. She was landing more elbows that I believe opened on the left, the other side of Ariane Lipski's eyebrow now. And so there was blood going into both of her eyes. There was 2 cuts on her fucking forehead now, pretty much. And she was just getting belted with shots. It just got to the point where Ariane Lipski wasn't really doing much on the ground and moving. And Montana De La Rosa got into a half guard type of position, postured up, and just started wailing shots down on her. And Ariane Lipski just couldn't do anything. She was on her back, couldn't defend properly. And just before the round ended, I believe 4 minutes, 27 seconds into the second round, the ref came in and waved off the fight. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. It was a great win for Montana De La Rosa, considering I believe she lost her last fight in the octagon. So that was a pretty good showcase, another showcase in the main card, and this time she won. So that's pretty good on her part. I believe the last time she was on the main card, she was a last-minute replacement on the main card as well, too. Because I believe in a fight, another fight fucking fell off, so yeah. Oh, goddamn. Fucking. I hope they're actually mowing the lawn out there. But anyway, yeah. Montana De La Rosa lost her last fight on the main card, which she was a stand-up as well, I believe, where a fight actually fell off and got canceled last minute, so she was put on the main card. So, again, she does it again. She steps up, gets on the main card to fill the main card and gets the TKO win, and it was a great showcase for her. The next fight was a middleweight contest, the one of two middleweight contests. Gregory Rodriguez versus Dusko Todorovic. And first of all, before I get into this fight and how cool it was, because it was just two guys being so technical, but it was mostly Gregory Rodriguez just wrestling Dusko. Well, Dusko landed some decent shots, defended some of the takedowns, but for the most part got taken down on the ground and, pinned up against the fence. But before I read out the result, I just want to say that Dusko Todorovic looks like bald Dustin Poirier back in the day, but if he was middleweight. Changed my mind. Anyway, Gregory Rodriguez grinded himself to a decision, 30-27 on all scorecards except for one. It was a 29-28. Somebody saw one of the rounds for Dusko Todorovic, and I'm assuming it was the last one because the last one, both guys finished strong, but I believe Todorovic got the better of the last round, even though it was close. Anyway, my fight of the night, and I'm sure it was everybody's fight of the night, was the next fight. The welterweight bout between Santiago Ponzinibbio, and he was going up against American Miguel Baeza. This fight was fucking insane, man. I don't know what to say. It was back and forth. I mean, one dude on my fucking Twitter said it the best. It was just a fight where two guys spammed jabs and leg kicks, but the thing is, those jabs hurt them. They were constantly throwing hooks as well and combos. They were hurting each other. It was back and forth the whole goddamn time where, Miguel Baeza would hurt Pons. Pons would recover real quick, come back and hit Baeza with some fucking shots that would hurt Baeza. And honestly, it made me a bigger fan of Ponzinibbio now than I was before because he just kept coming. He ate these leg shots, and at the end of the first round, it looked like his leg was absolutely dead, but he stayed standing. Nobody dropped. Not a single guy dropped to the ground. I don't even think there was any takedown attempts, if I remember correctly, but not a single guy dropped, even in the final seconds of the fucking third round. They were eating heavy shots. I'm telling you, heavy-ass shots. Not a single one of them went down from it. It was my fight of the night. Probably a fight of the year contender. I don't think it's my fight of the year, but it's a fight of the year contender. It was awesome. It was just fucking action-packed, and it was a great showcase for Pons to just show that he can bite down on the mouthpiece and just ignore that pain and just keep coming and dishing out more pain himself. And he scored the 29-28 unanimous decision, so good on him, man. I'm so happy he got the win, and holy fuck, it was a fucking great showcase. The next fight, the third fight to the co-main event, so the featured fight before the co-main event, was a middleweight showcase between Roman Dolidze and Laureano Staropoli. And this was a late replacement, I believe. It was supposed to be Alessio Di Chirico fighting Roman Dolidze, but I believe he pulled out due to injury. So Laureano Staropoli took the fight. And I hate to say it, but there really isn't much to say. He got dominated throughout the entire fight. They traded strikes for a little bit, but Roman Dolidze just did what he does and just landed for takedowns and pinned him against the cage in clinches and just constantly threatened with takedowns. And yeah, he did what Roman Dolidze does best, I think. And he ended up literally grinding out a 30-27 unanimous decision. Like I said, it was, I don't want to say boring, but it was boring, and there's not really much to talk about. But the co-main event and the main event, there's lots to talk about, and I can't wait to talk about it. So, the first fight, the co-main event was a heavyweight bout between Walt Harris and Marcin Tybura, and holy fuck, Walt Harris looked great. He seemed to be a lot more calm, a lot more composed, picking his shots. He had Marcin Tybura hurt bad a couple times early in the first, and then a little bit midway through the first he had him hurt. He had him pinned up against the cage with a flurry of strikes, But Marcin Tybura just has a chin and recovered so quickly that he ended up wrapping up Walt Harris and got Walt Harris to the ground. And then that was pretty much the beginning of the end once it got to the ground in the late the late end of the first round. And once it got to the ground, Marcin Tybura just used his weight, got into a dominant position, and eventually got kind of to his back and just constantly started raining down elbows and punches, made him cover up, and then eventually hit him with so many shots that he started to kind of wilt, and he flattened out, and it just ended with Marcin Tybura on Walt Harris's back while he was flat on his belly, taking shots to the back of, well, not to the back of the head, but to the sides of the back of the head or whatever. Just, he couldn't do anything. He couldn't defend himself. But it was a great showcase from Walt because, man, he fucking came in and just started throwing. He had Marcin Tybura on the ropes twice, man. Real bad. So, props to Walt Harris for doing that, but really props to Marcin Tybura for weathering the storm and then taking Walt Harris down and just finishing the fight his way. Honestly, great on him. And it was only the first heavyweight fight of the night. I mean, there was another. I mean, like, obviously there was other heavyweight fights. Anyway, so the main event was Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Augusto Sakai. And honestly, man, I don't know if anybody thought that Augusto Sakai was winning the fight. Sorry for the lawn mowing noises, by the way. But I don't know if anybody thought Augusto Sakai was going to win the fight. But Jairzinho Rozenstruik came in, looked extremely composed. He said that he was going to be aggressive, but he wasn't as much aggressive until like later on when he got the finish. He just started picking his shots, kind of, countered. Didn't, bait the counter, just countered. And he, landed his shots, threw his teep kicks and everything, picked his shots, conserved his energy, and hit Augusto Sakai with some heavy shots that seemed to hurt him. But it wasn't until the very end of the round, like literally with seconds left on the clock of round one, they're going up against the cage. He's hitting Augusto Sakai with some left hands. One left hand lands that kind of wobbles Augusto Sakai, and then a right hand comes. And it's funny, dude. Brandon Fitzgerald literally says, Rozenstruik has that right hand cocked. And all of a sudden, he throws the left hand to wobble Augusto Sakai, and then throws that fucking right hand that Brendan Fitzgerald said he had cocked up the entire time, just blasts it over top of Augusto Sakai and knocks him out cold and just starts landing punches while standing, like, out cold on an out, like, Augusto Sakai was out cold. It says TKO, but let's be honest, it was KO punches, bro. It was a brutal KO, but it was funny how Brendan Fitzgerald was just like, Rozenstruik has that right hand cocked, and then he fucking throws the right hand immediately after he says that and knocks out Augusto Sakai. It was a great showcase for Jairzinho Rozenstruik. It's, a great way for him to get back into the win column. He's looking pretty fucking good, and if he can work on his ground game a lot more, like, he's going to be a monster. Now, obviously, whether he can beat Francis Ngannou is another question, because, like, we're in the Francis Ngannou era. Let's be honest. We're in the Francis Ngannou era. I don't see a lot of people beating Francis Ngannou, let's be honest here. But anyway, that's it for the main event. I guess to end things, we should look at UFC 263 because, man, I didn't really realize until last night when I was watching the fight night that this fucking card is stacked from top to bottom. So let me just read these fights out to you. Alright, so man, okay, so this card is fucking stacked from top to bottom. So let's just start with the early prelims, man. There's like on Fight Pass, like the Fight Pass ESPN Plus early prelims, there's like 5 fights alone in those prelims, man. So honestly, man, like, okay, so the 5 fights in the prelims alone, like the early prelims, are pretty stacked. But then the actual preliminary card where there's 4 fights is pretty stacked too. And then on top of that, we've got a decently stacked main card. Like, UFC 263 is incredibly stacked. Let's fucking talk about it. So on the early preliminary card, we have a heavyweight fight between Carlos Felipe and Jake Collier, which is pretty fucking awesome because Jake Collier always brings it. And then after that, we've got a lightweight bout between Fair Zaim and Luigi Vanderamini. And then after that is featherweight fight between Chase Hooper. I forgot Chase Hooper was fighting. Chase Hooper versus Steven Peterson at featherweight. And then after that, it's Frank Camacho versus Matt Frevola at lightweight. And then to cap off the early prelims, we have Panny Kianzad, I think, versus Alexis Davis. And then in the prelims, to start things off, we have Movsar Evelev versus Hakeem Dawodu. And then a women's flyweight bout between Lauren Murphy and Joanne Calderwood. And then after that, a light heavyweight bout, which actually is a rematch between Eric Anders and Darren Stewart. This ended in a accidental knee that ended up being a no contest. So this is a rematch from what happened, I believe, in March. So there's that. And then to cap off the prelims, we have Drew Dober going up against Brad Riddell, which I believe is a fucking scheduled rematch as well. And then if that wasn't enough, man. Okay, so the prelims are stacked. And then we have the main card, which we have 2 title match rematches. And then a 5-round fight between Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. And then we have a welterweight bout between Damian Maia, the greatest grappler in the UFC, up against Bilal Muhammad. And then a light heavyweight bout between Paul Craig and Jamal Hill. So we have Izzy versus Marvin Vettori 2, which this was like a while back when they fought. And ended up being... I believe it ended up being Adesanya's first ever decision win, and it was a split decision too. It was like 29-28. And then we have Davison Figueiredo going up against Brandon Moreno for the flyweight title, and that's a rematch from their fight, I believe, in November of last year, where it was, in my opinion, the fight of the year, where both guys just went back and forth. A point got deducted, and it ended up being a draw. It was crazy. It really showcased why I love watching the flyweights fight, honestly. The card just looks incredible from top to bottom. It's going to be so fucking huge. It's happening next week when I move, so it's going to be like the first fucking podcast I do in the new apartment, which will be exciting, and I can't wait to watch it on the good Wi-Fi so I won't have a fucking issue. So that's going to be awesome. But I'm so excited for this card. From top to bottom, I'll be watching it. It is so goddamn stacked. And I urge everyone to watch this card. Like I said, it's stacked from top to bottom. Even though the prelim people may not seem too notable to some of you casual fans out there, watch it and get, familiarized with them, because they're all great fighters that are going to be on the main card soon enough, or they're going to show up on main cards in the future, or they have showed up on main cards in the past. Especially JoJo Calderwood. She was so close to a title shot against Valentina. But anyway, that's it for me. I can't wait for this card. It's going to be incredible. It's fucking stacked. Especially that 5-round fight between Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz, which is so weird. It's like, okay, so it's not even a co-main. It's not a main. It's literally just a random 5-round fight in the middle of the card. But hey, man, I'm here for it, and I can't wait for it. So next week, June 12th, I cannot wait for this card. But anyway, that's it for the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and my stupid ramblings. I hope you guys didn't mind the stupid fucking lawnmower. My housemate that I'm moving out of, thank God, is mowing the lawn and staying so close to the goddamn house, and these walls are so paper thin. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I hope you guys enjoy Floyd Mayweather versus Logan Paul as much as you can, honestly. And I will see you guys after UFC 263 and in the new apartment. Anyway, peace out, guys. I hope you guys have an incredible week.
You've been listening to the Dillo's Dojo podcast. Keep in touch with Dillo on his social media at Dillo Ross on Twitter and Dillo Ross on Instagram.